They all heard me. Thanks to everyone for attending the meeting for planning on Tuesday, the 10th of October 2023. I'm Councillor June Molyneux, Chair of the committee. Councillor Alex Hilton is Vice Chair. It's nice to see we've got a new face amongst us, Deborah. Hope you enjoy your time on planning. Please note that the meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. If you're in attendance as a member of the public who's registered to speak, please note you have a time limit of up to 3 minutes. The legal officer will operate a stopwatch and confirm when your time runs out. You should then finish, or if you're in the middle of making a point, wind up within a few seconds and then finish speaking, otherwise your microphone will be muted. To assist in following the evening's proceedings, a pack's been prepared and is available online, and it contains each item's report, plans, presentation slides and any items on the addendum. After officers have presented the reports and speakers have made their representations, I'll invite members to make any comments. When you want to speak, please raise your hand, and when invited to speak, remember to use your microphone and reference the paragraph number, which will allow everyone to follow you. Please keep in mind that some people require closed captions and/or lip reading to follow the proceedings, so please speak slowly and clearly, she said, messing it up. Please, can everyone ensure their phones are turned to silent? We're not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarm sounds, please exit the way you came in, because it's real. With that, I've on to apologies, which I have no apologies. I've got a full committee, for once. Item 1, any declarations of interest. Members are reminded of their... It's not in. The speech isn't in. But members, yeah, if you do have any declarations of interest, you need to declare them. You can stay in the meeting while it's being discussed. You have the same rights as a member of the public, but you can't speak after that. Okay. Moving on to the minutes of the 12th of September, pages 3 to 4. Will somebody move those, please? Thank you. Will somebody second? All those in favour? Thank you. Item 3, planning applications to be determined. For the benefit of the public here tonight, the speaking arrangements for planning applications as follows. The officers will summarise the report. Registered speakers will be invited to speak in the following order: objector, supporter, parish or town councillor, ward councillor, applicant or agent. All registered speakers will be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes, apart from a ward councillor who may speak for up to 5 minutes. In the event that all speakers are against an application, as chair, I may grant the applicant or representative a time extension. I would respectfully ask members of the public who have not registered to speak to remain quiet throughout the proceedings. And with that, we're moving on to item 3A, the former Mormon Church on Water Street, pages 5 to 48. Mike Halsell's going to present this item, and there is an update on your addendum. The officer recommendation remains that planning permission is granted subject to conditions outlined in the report. I have 2 registered speakers, an objector, Natalie Middleton, and the ward councillor, Aaron Beaver. Mike, can you present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Members will recall that consideration of the application was deferred at Planning Committee on the 12th of September to give members the opportunity to visit the site. The application site is located within the core settlement area of Chorley, close to Chorley town centre and within St Lawrence's conservation area. It comprises vacant land following the demolition of a building in the 2000s, which was used as a Mormon church meeting room and has since become overgrown with vegetation. The topography of the site is distinctive, and there is a steep increase in levels to the rear of the site up to Park Street and Park Road to the northwest. There is a terrace of traditional appearance to the southwest of the site, and dwellings of more recent design style opposite the site on the other side of Water Street. There is a distinctive stone stepped footpath to the northeast, and the Grade 2 listed Chorley Unitarian Chapel to the north, in addition to locally listed buildings at the Old Mesnay and 2 Park Street. Full planning permission is sought for the erection of a 3-storey apartment block with rooms in the loft space, comprising of 20 apartments, including vehicular access to and from Water Street and associated parking. Each apartment would have 2 bedrooms. The proposals would involve some levelling work and the introduction of a retaining wall as shown on the submitted plans. The proposed building will be set back from the retained stone frontage wall by approximately 3 metres, and this area will be soft landscape. Members inquired during the site visit as to whether one of the mature trees to the site frontage could be retained. This was raised with the applicant, who confirmed the tree is located immediately to the front of the proposed apartments, and so it would not survive if retained due to the level of root severance and canopy reduction required. 23 neighbour objections have been received, which raise issues that include flood risk, tree loss, ecological harm and residential amenity. As explained in detail in the committee report, there are no outstanding objections from technical consultees, although the Council's heritage advisor has commented that the proposal will be harmful to the appearance of the St Lawrence Conservation Area, although this harm would be of a low level and less than substantial. The planning authority must therefore consider the wider public benefits of the proposal against the level of harm to the significance of the heritage asset affected in its planning balance. The site is located within the settlement area of Chorley, which is identified as a key service centre in the Central Lancashire Core Strategy as a focus for growth. Members will also be aware that Policy V2 of the local plan sets out within the settlement areas excluded from the Greenbelt, there is a presumption in favour of appropriate sustainable development. Whilst the recommendation in this instance is finely balanced, it is considered that the wider public benefits of the proposal, in the form of delivering a much-needed form of accommodation in a sustainable location on a brownfield site, and its associated social and economic impacts, outweigh the harm caused by the proposal. Other issues noted in the committee report can be adequately controlled by planning conditions, and the application is therefore recommended for conditional approval and a Section 106 agreement to secure financial contributions towards public open space and affordable housing. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mike. Natalie, would you like to speak now, please?
This is an overdevelopment in a conservation area, left to thrive since the last building was removed. Such a shame to destroy a nature corridor when we already lack them. The 8 houses previously planned would be better suited. The wall at the back belongs to and is in the deeds of Mr. Howarth's property, his right to access for the repairs. A building that is 4 levels, not 3, as stated, is overbearing and not in line with the current properties in the area. Again, a conservation area. I'd like to stipulate frosted glass on the top floors, if this is given the go-ahead, to stop it imposing on the tenants' privacy opposite. This will have a negative effect on the amenity of the area by virtue of additional traffic, causing visitors to the current tenants opposite to park further uphill. Some are less abled and some being support for tenants. People's mental health will also be gravely affected by the lack of light in their homes due to the sheer size of the proposed building. These are not affordable housing. Affordable housing would be more council properties being built instead of private companies selling or renting at extortionate prices. None of the residents have been spoken to when this was stipulated in the last meeting. Just because we are housing association tenants does not mean our concerns can be ignored. There is a mine shaft also that needs to be considered. Mine gas needs to be looked out for, and unrecorded mine entries which need to properly be checked. There's already been a sinkhole, and adding more traffic would be detrimental. The River Chore runs underneath. If this build does get the go-ahead, I'd like to request building traffic to park on site and works to start not before 8 a.m. and end by 4:30, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. till 12 p.m. on a Saturday, and no works on a Sunday or bank holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beaver.
Thank you. Before I start, thank you, sorry. Thank you. Yep. Could I ask for one of the slides on page 36, which the proposed cross sections be put up, please? the one, that one, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I would like to start by thanking those members who attended the site visit. You may have observed there was no notice displayed on a lamppost or a street sign to notify the public of the application, which concerns me as I believe this is the normal practice. I ask you refuse this application on the grounds that it's overdevelopment of the site. It's over-prominent, considerably higher than the adjacent terrace and higher than the buildings opposite, made worse by being set up to 1.3 metres higher than the road level and is out of character with the area, contrary to policy BNE8 of the local plan. Planning, as you will be aware, is not an exact science. If it were, you wouldn't need a planning committee. Some cases are finely balanced. We've heard this tonight. Your decision is based on the information set before you, and I believe that you bring it's done on a case by case, and you bring a common sense approach. The applicant's deeds state unrestricted vehicular access must be granted to Tech Street to maintain the retaining walls, which is a health and safety issue. Another resident requires access to his garage. The application prevents both, yet it's considered not to be a material planning consideration. Paragraph 23 of the report mentions policy BNE8 of the Chorley local plan. It recognises the application is within St Lawrence's conservation area. One resident wanted to do home improvements, was informed by the council that his property was within the conservation area and had to use specific materials at significantly increased cost. Yet the offices next door had no such restrictions and had since been granted permission to fit solar panels. And when he mentioned that this development is within the conservation, he was informed that it's a guide, not a rule. Surely, if it's conservation area, it's a conservation area. I have to say that I have absolutely no objection to this site being developed. I accept it's previously developed land and needs developing. Paragraph 4 shows outline permission was granted in 2019 for a two-storey office building and parking, and permission was granted in 2020 for up to 8 dwellings with parking. This application seeks to build an elevated 4-storey block of flats with 20 apartments, over twice the previous application. Paragraph 24 recognises that the increased scale of a 3-storey house results in an imposing new building and does not represent a positive characteristic. It goes on to say, the considerable difference in height of a raised 3 to 4-storey apartment building and the adjacent terrace houses will be marked and over-prominent, rather than improving the current site. It will be made worse by being set between 0.7 and 1.3 metres higher than the road and higher than the buildings opposite. Members, one paragraph states that it's a 3-storey building, another says it's a 3 or a 4-storey building. This is clearly an elevated 4-storey building. It's significantly over-prominent and imposing. And just to clarify what a storey is any level that can be used for work or accommodation and includes the ground floor. Paragraph 25 states the proposal would be harmful to the appearance of St Lawrence's conservation area and conflicts with the policy to sustain and conserve the character and settings of the historic environment. Paragraph 26 recognises the need to develop the site, and given the current housing shortfall, Chorley is providing its share of the housing. But you are often told that housing numbers are a guide, not a target. Paragraph 27 says it's considered the benefits outweigh the harm. I disagree. And I refer to what I said earlier, that planning is not an exact science. This case is finely balanced, to say the least, and requires a common sense approach. Paragraph 29 stipulates building permission be granted for new development, providing the proposal does not have a significant detrimental impact by virtue of its height, scale and massing. And I refer you to the picture on the screen. At the top level, you have the terrace houses to the left, it's higher. And then on the middle, you have the houses opposite. It is twice the height. I ask you to refuse this application on the grounds that it is an overdevelopment of the site. It's over-prominent, considerably higher than the adjacent terrace and even higher than the buildings opposite, made worse by being 1.3 metres higher than the road level and is out of character with the area, contrary to policy BNEH of the local plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any comments from either of you? No? Okay.
Just one point of clarification in terms of the site notice. There may be some confusion. The application has been in for a few years. The site notice was erected in January 2021. So the site notice was erected a couple of years ago because the application's been in a long time. So the statutory requirements have been met from the council in that respect. Thanks.
Okay. Sorry. Over to you, members. Councillor Morwood.
I have a great deal of sympathy for what's just been said. I know the area extremely well. Used to be a ward councillor there, lived in the area at the top of the steps there for 33 years. So I know it's a very historical area, so it should be a special case and special consideration should be looked at when buildings are going up in and around that area. Like Councillor Beaver, I'm absolutely not against the principle of developing housing in this area. It's a perfect spot for housing, and whether that be flats or semi-detached or whatever, I have no problem at all, particularly with the flats, especially as they're two-bedroom, because I'm sick to death of all these single-bed flats going around everywhere where you can hardly swing a cat. So the actual development, in terms of that size and so forth, I'm not against, except I don't think this is quite right. Never mind technically, I totally agree with you. This is a 4-storey building. I mean, you look at the diagram, it says ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we can all add up. It's 4 stories high. They started off with wanting 8 in 2019, then it turned into an office block, and now it's suddenly 20. I would even have had some sympathy if it was 18, because that would have brought it down a whole floor, and it would have been reasonable, and I think there's a potential there. But as this stands, I am not sure that it is right for the area, by nature of its size and its scale. So I'd like to, I'll wait and see what others say, but at this stage I'm going to say I would like to recommend refusal of this. And I'm not finished yet.
Sorry, I thought you finished. Councillor Ainsworth, Councillor Derbyshire.
I'm not sure, Councillor.
Had you not finished?
No,
Sorry.
no. I was going to say, and if you want, the full, a few notes have been jotted down as to the exact reasons for refusal. I can do that now, or I can wait till further discussions. It's up to yourselves.
Councillor Ainsworth.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would like to second Councillor Morwood's proposal for refusal. It's not appropriate. It's 4 stories high. And I've had a look at the local plan, and I feel that it says here, BNE 1, Section A, planning permission will be granted for new development if the proposal does not have a significantly detrimental impact on the surrounding area by virtue of its density, sitting, layout, building to plot ratio, height, scale and massing, design, orientation and use of materials. This development does have a detrimental impact, and I think for that reason, I think this application needs to be refused.
Thank you. Councillor Derbyshire.
And I agree with Councillor Maud and Councillor Ainsworth here on the grounds that it should be a special consideration because it is of significant historical impact on the area, and also for this exactly the same reasons. It's going to have a detrimental effect, and also going again from 8 to 20. What is, is that a financial justification rather than an actual housing need implication? And that's the grounds that I would object to or refuse planning permission on this item.
Councillor France.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I went on the site visit. It is a conservation area. It is a site that needs developing. But I'm a little bit like Councillor Morwood. This is a bit overbearing, being 4-storey high. You've got the houses across the road. So I just have a questions of whether this is the right development or not. Not that the site does need developing.
I'm in favour of this development, very much so. The site, as we all acknowledged, is a housing site. Desperately need this sort of accommodation within Chorley. The comments about the height of the thing, if you're going to build a 4-storey development, better being in the bottom of the valley where it's less prominent. And there are buildings of that size near, very close to it, the old Inland Revenue building, the Swan with 2 necks, and Chorley House. And also remind councillors that, you know, the council themselves have built bigger buildings in Tatton Gardens and Primrose Gardens, 4 stories, 4.5 stories, surrounded by much smaller dwellings and much closer to existing dwellings. I can't really see why we do not want a properly developed we maximise the development, maximise the number of units. We are short of housing in Chorley. Is exactly the right location for that sort of development. I don't accept your argument about the height at all. It does. I'll finish there.
Thank you. I know it's difficult, but can I ask members of the public not to comment on this? Because it is distracting when you're trying to listen to people. Thank you. Mr. Southern.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, largely in agreement with my fellow councillors in terms of the need for it. It's definitely ripe for development. I've no issue with that. Went to the site myself and sat there and looked at it and compared this against what was being proposed. I find it austere, if I'm honest with you. It's tall, it's lofty, and it just comes over as being austere. If the dormers were lost and the pitch of the roof was changed and it was 3 stories, not 4, I'd be going with this gung-ho. But I have to say, for me, I think its physical size and its scale is inappropriate for the area. It is a fine balance that we take, and I am mindful of the fact that there are properties of various different periods that have been built there. But this particular development, where it sits there on the hill, I think with the roof scale and the dormers on there, for me, it doesn't work, and I can't approve it on that basis.
Thank you, Chair. I did do a site visit, and bearing in mind there are 20 apartments proposed, where are they going to fit 60 wheelie bins? Bearing in mind they may not have to cut the grass, but so they'll need a brown, blue and a green bin if normal situations persist.
Yeah, there's a communal bin store proposed to the rear of the apartments, and our waste services team have commented on the proposals and they're happy with them. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Morwood.
I'll come back. There is a big 4-storey building down at the bottom, but it's down at the bottom of the valley, which is many metres lower than this building is, and it replaced a huge building that used to be right up to the top of onto Park Road and so on. So there's a different aspect for that building. It's an office building. It was overlooking the Swan and all the rest of it. So it's a totally different situation in that there's no houses opposite that have to stare at this monolith. And as I say, I must stress, as been said, I think it's a perfect spot for housing. But just because it's the perfect spot doesn't mean to say we just allow anything that gets brought along. As we said, that's what the planning committee is here for, to decide, is that right for that area? It is a conservation area, and it's not right in that situation. There's the size of it. So I will repeat, I wish to recommend refusal, and I'll read what I suggest. The development would be harmful to the appearance of the St Lawrence's conservation area and would therefore conflict with Policy 16 of the Central Lancashire Core Strategy and Policies BNE 1E and BNE 8 of the Chorley Local Plan 2012 to 2016. By virtue of its size and scale, the proposed would form an incongruous feature in the street scene and would be harmful to the area, conflicting with Policy 17 of the Core Strategy and Policy BNE 1A, I think it's A, I think I've got the right one, of the Chorley Local Plan 2012-2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you happy to formally second?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted to refuse the application for the reasons described by Councillor Morwood.
Thank you. If any of you have just come for that and you want to go now, please feel free. You don't have to sit through the rest of our meeting. We'll not subject that on you. I think he's won now.
Just to quite, there's some confusion. Yes, it's been refused.
Yeah, it's been refused, yeah. What they should have done, we should have done.
I was meant to make it quick. Let me say that. Let's say too fast.
Right, we'll carry on. Item 3. Sorry? Item 3B. I'm going to have to tell you. It's not good enough. Land between 20 and Mereside, Oakmere Avenue, Withnell, pages 49 to 78. Mike's going to present this item with an update on your addendum. Officer recommendations remains the same, that planning permission is granted, subject to conditions. I have no registered speakers.
Thank you, Chair. The application site is located in the Greenbelt on the south side of Oakmere Avenue in Withnell. The application seeks planning permission for the erection of 2 detached dwellings with detached garages. Planning permission was previously granted for 2 dwellings on this site in January 2023. The principal difference in the new proposal relates to the inclusion of detached garages to serve each dwelling and changes to windows and materials. 2 objections have been received citing the development not being in keeping with the local area, loss of habitat, increase in traffic, garages being forward of the building and preventing vehicle egress in forward gear. An objection has also been received from Councillor Margaret France on the basis that the site is very attractive and visited by ramblers and anglers to the adjacent fishing lodge, and the line of house frontages will be distorted by the proposed attached garages, which will not respect the existing dwelling. No objections have been received from technical consultees, subject to conditions. The proposed development would involve the infilling of a site that lies within a clearly identifiable built-up frontage, with buildings either side in an area with the character of a village. The proposed development would therefore comply with the exception detailed at exception E of paragraph 149 of the National Planning Policy Framework involving limited infilling in villages. The proposal is therefore not considered to be an appropriate development in the Greenbelt. The site is vacant and overgrown with foliage and is not considered to make a positive contribution to the street scene and is at odds with the prevailing residential character of the immediate locality. The proposed development would reflect the residential character of the area and would be consistent with neighbouring land uses, continuing the active frontage along this part of Oakmere Avenue. The garages would be visible within the adjacent street scene. However, it is considered that the uniformity and consistency of the building layout along Oakmere Avenue begins to break down as properties become more dispersed, with larger gaps between dwellings towards the eastern end of the road. It is also considered that the garages would benefit from a relatively modest and low profile with a low maximum height of approximately 3.3 metres, which would to a degree mitigate the visual impact in the street scene. In terms of design, it is considered they would complement the form and style of the host dwellings. The side east elevation of House A would contain 5-bedroom windows at first floor level. Due to the angle and position of the proposed dwelling, the windows would not face directly towards the neighbouring residential property at Mereside. The windows to serve bedrooms 1 and 4 would be obscurely glazed. House B would be located immediately to the east of the neighbouring dwelling of number 20 Oakmere Avenue, and at its closest point would be approximately 2.5 metres away from the common boundary and 4.3 metres away from the side elevation of the property itself. There will be an escape window to bedroom 1 at first floor level within the side west elevation of the property. However, this would face directly towards a blank section of the first floor side elevation of the neighbouring property at number 20. The application is recommended for approval, subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Chair. I think members just need to be aware that the principle of development of these houses has already been established here, and it's just looking at the differences. So the houses will be built anyway. I don't see any major difference other than the fact there's some garages on and the change of a few windows. So I am quite happy with this application and quite happy to propose officer recommendations for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor France.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question for officers. Were there no garages included last time with the past application? I couldn't find it, to be honest.
No, the previous proposal didn't include any garaging, so the principal change is the garages to the frontage.
Yeah, I'd have preferred the garage to be at the rear of properties rather than the front of properties. I think it does bring a certain line forward, and I know it's not a planning committee matter, but interestingly, these houses are some of the few houses in Chorley Borough who don't have a waste collection because they cannot get up the road, and all the heavy traffic going up there is making this condition worse. But that's just an aside. It's not a planning committee matter. Okay, thank you.
I just wondered if I could ask the officers if it's possibility of adding conditions on to prevent the garages being turned into rooms or offices in the future, because the reason they've got this big house already approved and they're adding to it already without even building it, and I'm just concerned that these days loads of garages go over to internal office space, or they turn into bedrooms or annexes, and then they get joined with the house, and all of a sudden you've got a building line which is in front, which is no longer a garage, but it's part of the house, and getting bigger.
One of you like to come back at that?
Yes, we can add a condition on that. It requires planning permission to be applied for if they wanted to change the garages to another use.
Sorry, did you say we could apply if that's what the committee... Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we can add a
Okay,
condition.
and do I need to propose that when everybody's finished speaking?
We'll just add different-
I'd like to propose that the garages are prevented from being turned into rooms, offices, or joined onto the house and remain garages in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second Councillor Platt's proposition there. The chances of them being turned into a room are pretty slim because of the way they've hit the roof, which is a garage, I'd be perfectly happy with. I wouldn't want to see them extended, and if we can put that condition in there, I'd be happy with that, Chair. Thank you.
I like Councillor Hilton, can see no reason why the planning permission shouldn't be granted for these houses, these two abodes, and
Thank
the
you. Well, we could
condition
just, sorry, we'd do that, we'd just subject to the added condition, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted to approve the application subject to conditions and a further condition requiring an application for planning permission to change the use of the garages.
Thank you. Three C. Where is it? A land opposite Hampton Grove, Wigan Road, Clayton. Pages 79 to 104. Ian's going to present this item. There's an update on your addendum. The officer's recommendation remains that planning permission is granted subject to conditions and a section 106 agreement. I've no registered speakers, so over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks technical details consent for the erection of 4 dwellings pursuant to permission in principle that was approved by committee last September. As such, the principle of development has been established on this site, and the application is seeking the details of 4 dwellings. The site's located on Wigan Road in Clayton-Le-Woods and is opposite a major development site comprising an extensive area of residential development. The site is prominent when viewed from Wigan Road, being open land. It's proposed that the proposed dwellings will be of a modern design in a traditional form and will be laid out with 2 dwellings facing Wigan Road and 2 dwellings to the rear facing an internal access road. There are a range of dwelling types in the area with numerous examples of large detached properties. The proposed dwellings would help to create an active street frontage on Wigan Road and would fill the space in the line of development on that side of the road. The density of development is reflective of the pattern of development in the area, and there'd be no detrimental impact on the character of the area overall. The existing dwellings either side of the application site are situated a suitable separation from the proposed dwellings, and it's considered that there'd be no unacceptable impacts on the amenity of the adjoining occupiers. LCC Highways have assessed the proposal and confirmed that they have no objection, and of the opinion that the proposed development wouldn't have a significant impact on highway safety, capacity or amenity in the immediate vicinity, subject to the provision of appropriate sight lines, details of suitable access and off-site highway works, and the provision of a construction management plan, traffic management plan. There'd be no adverse ecological impacts from the development, subject to the provision of a contribution towards the off-site enhancement of grassland, whilst the detailed surface water drainage scheme would be required by condition. Overall, the proposed development is considered to be in accordance with the policy of the development plan and is recommended for approval subject to the conditions set out in the addendum and the section 106 agreement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor G.
Thank you, Chair. looking at this and looking into what's been said, it is a built-up area. I have no problems with it, and I would like to recommend the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Southern.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No issues with this, Chair. It's already been mentioned about the surface drainage there, provided they come up with a suitable plan that will deal with that. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Okay. Nobody else? I'll move to the vote then.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to conditions.
Okay, thank you. Item 3D. Golden Acres, Plocks Farm, Liverpool Road, Bretherton, page 105 to 146. Ian's going to present this item with an update on your addendum. Officer recommendation, members minded to approve, etc. There are no registered speakers for this item. Over to you, Ian. I wasn't reading it on the paper.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks planning permission for the erection of a blending building following demolition of an existing building to accommodate the fresh extrusion pet food production process, an extension to the engineer's stores building, erection of a swash building to accommodate washing and recycling of containers, erection of a covering to the route used for the internal transfer of materials and finished product, incorporating an overhead conveyor for the containers, and the erection of timber screen fences within the site along the western boundary extending from the existing pipe bridge. The application site comprises the long-established industrial complex of Golden Acres Pet Foods that's located in the Greenbelt at Bretherton on the border with the West Lancashire district. The site itself is a major developed site. The framework and local plan allow for the redevelopment of such sites on the proviso that the development does not have a greater impact on the openness of the Greenbelt. Although there's currently a visual and spatial impact from the existing buildings and structures across the site and the volume of buildings to be removed, it's considered that the proposed development would have a greater impact on openness due to the height and visual impacts of the proposed blending building and swash building, and would therefore constitute inappropriate development in the Greenbelt, which is harmful by definition. As the development would result in definitional harm to the Greenbelt, there would have to be very special circumstances to justify the grant of planning permission that would outweigh this harm. The benefits are set out in the report and comprise the following in summary. The development would allow the switch from gas-powered processing to electric, which would reduce carbon emissions and increase the cost efficiency of the operations whilst increasing the capacity of the operation. There will be a tighter containment of salmonella risks within the production process. There'll be a potential for reduced noise and odours through cleaning containers within the swash building rather than outdoors, which is what currently takes place. There'll be increased efficiencies through covering materials on the transfer route and rationalising the storage of parts within a single location in the extension to the engineering store. There'll be improved visual impacts through the provision of screen fencing around the periphery of the site, where there are currently some open views and gaps in the landscaping. There will be economic and social benefits through supporting the growth and operations of the business and thereby securing employment at the site, and there are economic benefits of supporting jobs during the construction process. Whether or not these benefits amount to the very special circumstances necessary to outweigh the harm to the Greenbelt is a matter of planning judgment and is for the decision taker to determine. In this instance, it's considered that when weighted cumulatively, these benefits do in this instance outweigh the substantial harm to the Greenbelt and amount to very special circumstances. It's therefore considered that the proposed development is acceptable in principle. The development will be of a functional appearance consistent with other buildings on the site and will be contained entirely within the site, which is well screened by a mature landscape buffer to the periphery. Furthermore, where the buildings are visible, they will be viewed in the context of other buildings of similar design and scale. The development will be located a significant distance from residential properties, and whilst operations carried out at the site would remain unchanged. There'll be no impact on the residential amenity as a result of the proposed development, with some potential for improvements around noise and odours. The existing parking access and parking arrangements to be retained and are well established. It's considered that the proposed development would not have a significant impact on highway safety, capacity or amenity in the area. And overall, the proposed development is considered to be in accordance with the policies of the development plan, and it is recommended that members be minded to approve the application subject to the conditions set out in the addendum, and that the application be referred to the National Planning Casework Unit to determine whether the Secretary of State wishes to call the application in for decision in accordance with the provisions of the Town and Country Planning Direction 2021. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor Hilton.
I'm in favour of this development. This is a local company that's needing support, economic benefits, carbon reduction, modernisation. The balance is certainly in favour of development. There's no negative residential amenity impact, possible benefits. I see absolutely no problem with this. So again, I'm quite happy to propose officer recommendations for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second that proposal. It's a well-established business. It is in the green belt, but it had special circumstances when it was first put forward. And all this development is still within the original site. It's a little disappointing that the buildings are quite so high, and as has been pointed out by the officers, it almost gets to the point where, because of the height, it might have been considered to have some kind of detrimental effect to the openness. So I just make a point that if any future buildings come along, they might just take that into account. Thank you.
Yeah. All those in favour, please show.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously that they are minded to approve the application for full planning permission.
Item 3E is Strawberry Fields Digital Hub, Euxton Lane, Chorley, pages 147 to 220. Ian's going to present this item. With the officer recommendation is approved and the terms of the Section 106 agreement be modified. I've one registered speaker, Ellie Greater-X. Ian, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks to modify the planning obligation attached to the outline planning permission for the mixed-use development comprising the digital health park at Strawberry Fields, insofar as it relates to the provision and delivery of affordable housing on part of the development. The development includes the provision of 122 dwellings, 60% of which are to be affordable housing. It's proposed to modify the obligation in relation to the use and definition of the term chargee, to remove clauses that determine the point by which certain proportions of affordable housing units shall have been constructed, to more explicitly define the wording of clauses, better clarify and tie in relevant exclusions within the agreement. It's also intended to modify the amount of time a social rented unit is advertised for applicants normally resident within the borough, and the amount of time intermediate units are marketed to applicants normally resident within the borough. The proposed amendments would help to ensure that the necessary funding can be secured and ensure the timely delivery of houses so that houses don't stand empty whilst the development progresses. The amendments wouldn't alter the number of affordable houses to be delivered, their type or their tenure, whilst there'll be limited risks to the delivery of affordable housing. It's therefore recommended that the application is approved and the Section 106 agreement is modified. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Ellie, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to review the proposed minor variations to the Strawberry Fields Section 106. I'm Ellie Greater-X. I'm a Senior New Business Manager for L&Q North West, formerly Trafford Housing Trust. L&Q is a registered provider with a social mission to provide more affordable homes on tenure-blind developments, creating diverse and well-balanced new communities. At Strawberry Fields, we are providing 60% affordable homes, of which 30% are subject to the provisions in the Section 106. We are committed to working with the Council, being a member of Chorley's RP framework, and we've worked collaboratively with planning officers and legal representatives for over a year on this variation, and I really want to thank everyone involved. As the Planning Officer report explains, much of this variation relates to maximising lending potential. As a provider of social housing, this will allow L&Q to invest in more affordable and social homes in Chorley. This variation will bring the wording in line with the National Housing Federation and that used by most other councils in the North West. We have requested to amend the marketing period for both rented and intermediate tenures. For rented, this will align with the Council's select move policy, and for intermediate, this will align with the National Housing Federation's marketing guidance. Both changes will limit the possibility of affordable homes sitting empty. To provide comfort to members, the average marketing time from release to reservation at Strawberry Fields has been 53 days. That's less than 2 months. L&Q are committed to building homes for local people, with direct marketing prioritising the borough. To date, we have 11 legal completions of shared ownership homes that are additional to the Section 106. These are grant funded, and our contract with Homes England does not allow any local connection restrictions. However, through our marketing strategy, over 50% of those homes have gone to local people. To highlight this further, we currently have 73 leads, of which 71 are from residents of the Borough of Chorley. Again, this highlights the great work our marketing team are doing to market locally. We have requested to delete 2 paragraphs related to the construction timings. As the report details, due to constraints on site, the build route is such that the Section 106 homes can only be built after certain parts of the site are completed. As it stands, this means that 12 non-Section 106 affordable homes may not be able to be occupied for several months. The officer's report states that deleting these paragraphs would have limited effect due to the advanced nature of the build. For context, build has started on all the Section 106 plots, with timber frame up on a third of them. In summary, the variations do not alter the number of affordable homes, the types or tenures, and would have little effect on the way they'll be delivered and managed. However, the changes would enable greater access to lending, which could allow further development in Chorley and limits the likelihood of available quality homes being stood empty. The officer's overall conclusion is that the variation should be permitted, subject to the legal agreement. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Right. Over to you, members. Councillor Morwood.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it doesn't affect the affordable housing, which is good, and 60% affordable is exactly what we need. Basically, it was a very technical report, and it did take some reading, and I can't say I read it all. But basically, I think the changes are all about that magic mystery thing of moving money about and getting it in at the right time and moving it. And so basically, it allows everything to happen more quickly and more efficiently. So I'm happy to propose accepting the officer's proposal.
Yeah, more than happy to second him, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No issues with this, Chair. The report was a great read and got me up to sleep every 3 or 4 times.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application to modify the Section 106 agreement.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application to divert part of public footpath 71 in Heath Charnock in order to facilitate a development involving the erection of 6 dwellings. It's recommended that the diversion order be approved, that the Director of Governance is authorised to serve notice regarding the making of the order, and that the Director of Governance is authorised to confirm the order if it is unopposed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Over to you, members. Thank you. All those in favour, can you please vote? No.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application for a diversion of the footpath.
Thank you. I've no urgent business, so with that, I thank you for your attendance. Have a safe journey home.